must say. Nevertheless, ladies and gentlemen, I've got some shitty news for you. We've got a very serious problem in Europe. And because of that, we're drowning in shit. But don't worry, I'm going to tell you how we can solve that with a new crop. It's still a secret, but for the occasion, I'm going to tell you about it. Let me start at the beginning. I'm sure you're all aware that in Holland we have an awful lot of farm animals. We have about 12 million pigs, 4 million cows, and all these animals, they need protein for their growth, just like us. Well, the problem is that in Europe we don't have a crop which can provide this protein. Therefore, at some stage, we started to import soy, which is grown in South America. And we nowadays do it at a massive scale. In a year, we import about 2 million tons of soy for cattle feed. And to give you an impression how much that is, it's about the combined weight of all the people in the Netherlands and Belgium together. So I would say it's a lot. This is causing a problem. Not in Holland, or at least also in Holland, but also in South America. Because, well, I'm sure you've learned it at school or seen it on television, the cultivation of soy is causing a rapid decline of the tropical rainforest. The farmers in South America, in the Amazon region, are burning down the rainforest to make their fields for the soy. And that's going at a very rapid rate at the moment, about 3,000 football fields a day. And as a biologist, I think that's a disaster. So in 2009, I met a guy who is now my business partner, Ian Prinsen. We sat together and we said, well, we should solve this. We should do something about this. And we came up with a very simple idea. Let's design a crop that is high in protein, that can serve as cattle feed, and that grows well in Holland or in Europe. Well, easy. So we started to work on it, and we're more or less there. But when we were thinking about it, we could also see some other additional benefits of this new crop. First of all, if you have a crop in Holland which can provide a protein, of course you get rid of all the transport of soy. So you can get rid of an awful lot of CO2, carbon dioxide emissions, and fine dust emissions, and so on and so forth. But we also could see that we could solve the Dutch manure surplus, and in addition that we could also boost the use of green gas. Well, these latter two require a little bit of more explanation. First of all, you have to realize that all these farm animals produce an awful lot of shit. There are royal highnesses here. I should say manure. It's a nicer word, sounds much better. This 70 million tons of shit is an awful lot. And if you load it all into trucks, and you put these trucks into a line, you get a very, very long line of about 24,000 kilometers long. And if you look at that, it's more or less from all the way down the Earth, from the South Pole, all the way up to the North Pole. So really a very, very long line. And actually, during the year, this is happening. During the year, we are loading all the manure into trucks to transport it either to the meadows to use it as a fertilizer or to export it to other countries because we want to get rid of it, because we have too much. Now, at the same time, this manure is an enormous potential source of green energy. If we would put it all into biofermenters, we could easily produce about 2 billion cubic meters of green gas, and that would be enough to provide the heating and cooking of about 1 million households. At the moment, we don't do this because green gas is too expensive to produce. And it is a bit complicated, and I don't have the time to explain it all to you, but that has once again to do with the soy imports. And just for the moment, you have to believe me, if we can get rid of the soy import, we can get rid of the manure surplus, and once we've done that, also green gas will be very cheap, about as cheap as natural gas, so that will give it an enormous boost. Now, I think you're all getting curious what the crop is, but before I tell you, I first want to share a few of the special features of this crop. First of all, it's very high in protein. It's about 40% of protein. And when I was eating my egg this morning, it's more or less the same amount of protein in an egg than in this plant. The other thing is that it grows very well on a mixture of manure in water. And that's very important for us because manure is a very cheap source of fertilizer. The other thing is that it's very productive. If we grow it in the Netherlands under the Dutch field conditions, we have a crop that produces about 10 times more than soybeans in South America. So I would say that it's really magical. So therefore, my dear ladies and gentlemen, it's me an honor and a privilege to present to you our dear, new, enormous, magical crop of the future. It's called duckweed. In actual fact, it's the smallest flowering plant of the world, and I'm sure you're all familiar with it because we have all seen it on ponds in our cities where it's this green stuff which makes it appear like a grass field. In Dutch, eendenkroos. Everybody knows it. In 2009, I had a very long discussion with my wife, and she allowed me to use her back garden for the first test in these plastic tubs which you could buy at the hardware store for €6. I thought it was a bit expensive at that stage, but Allah. I first tested several plants, which was growing the best, and well, okay, the end was that duckweed was the best plant to use. We then moved on to a greenhouse, a small greenhouse, with everyday garden swimming pools where we did some tests on the production rate, the best growth conditions, and things like that. And then we moved on to yet and again a larger greenhouse, and there we started to develop our fully automated system for growing and harvesting duckweed. And we have now a patent on this whole concept. Yet again, at the moment we're scaling up again. We started last week to build a new artificial pond of about 6,000 square meters. We hope to take that into production either this year or next year. And once we've proven that the production rate is as high as we think and so on, we're ready to bring it onto the market. Just for one thing, the last thing we have to do is get the final permission of the Food Council. But while that's regular stuff, it shouldn't be too difficult, I hope. And once we have achieved that, by the way, cows really love duckweed. I think we have achieved a new crop, green energy for our cows, and at the same time, we also have achieved green energy for the heating of our houses. So, ladies and gentlemen, I think the future is to duckweed. Thank you very much.
Fantastic.